This is an odd duck to put in here, but Cyberpunk 2077.
That's not ongoing. They're finally done with it. 2.0 and Liberty, Phantom Liberty are it.
Yeah, I don't think they have much for a roadmap of content. And also, that makes me start thinking, are you talking about games with a roadmap of content? Because that's like every game now. But like as I said, I didn't even touch, after like 100-something hours, I had not even touched the base building mechanic. Because I frankly didn't see the reason why.
Would you? Yeah.
I didn't understand the reason why. Just like store extra equipment. Then I got to go back to my base all the time to get my equipment. And the animals can even be assigned to the defender roster. So you want a brown bear to be your defender, you can do that. Or an owl bear.
Giant scorpions.
Oh, giant scorpions. That's excellent.
Yep.
Owl bear.
Yep, owl bears.
Let's get an owl bear. Alex, how big is your base currently?
Oh, all of the base belongs to us.
All of it? Oh, wow.
Yeah.
All 3 square feet.
Yeah, it's not very big. It's like micro base.
Micro base, yeah. Well,
honestly, it's just a refrigerator box.
Oh, good. Yeah, well, don't feel self-conscious. It's fine. Happens to the best of us. Anyway, thank you for joining us on Total Pebble Knockdown. I am Nathan.
And I am Alex.
And welcome to the Total Pebble Knockdown micro base that we've built here. It lives on your phone. That's right, our base lives in your phone right now. Are you afraid?
You all have phones, right?
Yeah, you all have phones, right? Well, our base is in it. Recently, we got nominees for the Game Awards, and I know how much I know how much you love the Game Awards.
Oh, yeah. You know how much I love the Game Awards, or any Game Awards?
How much? How much?
You can see it on my enthusiastic Game Awards poster in the background. The one I don't have.
It's invisible.
Yeah. I don't tend to care much about Game Awards. The only Game Awards I really care anything about typically are like the Steam Game Awards.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Because those are 100%, as far as I'm aware, don't quote me, I did not research this. Those are like 100% voted on by players.
Right. I think the Game Awards, as it stands, has mostly become sort of like the Oscars, but for video games, at least in the United States. Across the pond, the British actually have BAFTA awards specifically for video games. So it's not just for film and television. They also do it for games too. So you'll see some video games that literally get the same kind of awards that they would give to like premiere movies and stuff, which is interesting.
BAFTA award or award nominated games. I've seen those for sure. Now, the Game Awards I value about as much as I value IGN and Kotaku.
Perfect, which not at all, right? Pretty
much.
But hey, I mean, they've done quite a bit with it. It started as very like Spike TV style, sort of, raunchy, very, edgy sort of thing, and they've tried to modify it into much more of a premier prestige sort of event. In similar fashion to the big award shows.
Are you telling me Spike TV didn't last?
I'm not only that, but I'm also telling you Spike TV did not scream prestige in terms of its...
Very fair.
But anyway, so the Game Awards were announced, and there's many, many categories, and I thought that we might go over a few that we are particularly interested in, if anything. Which, I guess that's up to some people. In case you're wondering, stuff like esports, we're not really going to talk about. We're not really as big on like maybe the multiplayer or the sports games or stuff like that, but
FIFA 2024. Let's go.
It's the best. You know what? Just for clarity's sake, I'm going to tell you what the games in the best sports/racing is, so you can tell me how much you care about them. Okay?
I mean, GT's Gran Turismo 7 or 8 might be in there, and that one's pretty decent. Same with Forza, but let's see. Let's go. First up.
Okay.
Sports.
So yeah, first up, sports. Here we go, folks. We're doing this. EA Sports FC 24, so it's football club. So it's soccer.
it's no longer FIFA. Got it.
Yeah. F1 23. So there you go. Forza Motorsport. Hey, not Horizon, but there wasn't a Horizon this year. Hot Wheels Unleashed 2 Turbocharged.
I mean, that one has more DLC than you can imagine, honestly. It's got as much DLC as a train game does.
That's true. Hey, I tried the original Hot Wheels Unleashed, and I thought that was pretty fun. And the Crew Motorfest. I don't care. I tried the original Crew, and I was not hyped on it.
Yeah, so, none of those sound like games I'd play. Good thing we got the sport category out of the way.
Yeah, Forza Motorsport I'm sure is fine, but I really like the Horizon series, but it's very, very different than the actual Forza Motorsport series. So
yeah.
But anyway, in case you were wondering and wanted all your sports games news, that's it. So
this is our time to roast games in the Game Awards categories, as well as talk about some we like and don't like, apparently.
Yes, that's what we're doing here today. Let's actually talk about some categories that we might care a little bit more about. Bear with me for a second, because there is a category I'm curious about, which is something...
Great, Souls-like.
I'm sure that's in a different category. Is Best Adaptation.
Okay.
Adaptation of what? I'm not sure. Oh, okay, I know what it is. It's about film or television adaptations of games. Got it. So you've got...
What's in this category?
You've got Castlevania Nocturne.
I guess that's fair. That is a Netflix series, right?
Yes. You have the Gran Turismo film.
Did not know they were making one. Okay.
And it's already out, and it was already in theaters. The Last of Us, which was the HBO series.
Yeah.
The Super Mario Brothers movie from Illumination.
Didn't see it.
And then, Twisted Metal, which was the series that they did on Peacock.
I forgot they were doing that.
Yeah, they did.
I think the only one I've heard anyone talk about at all ever has been Castlevania.
Yeah. So I saw the Super Mario Brothers movie, and that was pretty good. And then the only other one that I'm really familiar... Well, I heard The Last of Us was really good. Twisted Metal, however, I'm a video game nerd, and I don't even care about watching that. So,
yeah.
So there's that. Okay, let's actually talk about some game categories. Let's get into some actual... Let's go. Best RPG, Alex.
Oh, Baldur's Gate 3.
Baldur's Gate 3, you think?
I don't know. I've seen a couple of these, so I'll have you go over the categories, or the games listed here. And I know from watching one video that I think was some Ordinary Gamers, there are a bunch of categories that have the same games in them.
Well, now, okay, so this is at least something I'm familiar with, but here we go. We've got Baldur's Gate 3. You called it. You've got...
Of course.
Final Fantasy 16.
Mm-hmm.
Lies of P is in this category. Which, yeah, I guess...
Really? I guess, on what metric are we counting it a role-playing game? An RPG?
Yeah, I mean, I guess if you consider Souls-likes to be in the same realm as RPGs, or action RPGs, because that's really what it is.
Yeah. Does it have leveling mechanics? You've played some Lies of P, right?
It does. It in the same way that Souls-likes usually do, where you can invest your... whatever the currency is, and you level up, and then you can level up the individual stats and stuff. But... Well,
I guess in that aspect, then yeah, it classifies as an RPG. Like, we're not here to tell you what genre games fit into, but...
No.
Would I put it in an RPG category if I was picking RPGs and purely RPGs for you to play? Probably not. Is it technically an RPG? Yeah.
And look, I liked Lies of P when I tried it out. I do plan on playing the full game and see how well I do. I can tell you, though, and this has been something a lot of people who even play Souls-likes have said, is it is hard. It is a hard game, and they are not wrong. There were some bosses in that I literally cheesed to the nth degree. The only way I could get past the Mad Donkey, Alex, was I lured the Mad Donkey to a sub-boss that I didn't bother beating before, and I had the two of them fight until one of
go.
them was dead and the other was down to a little health, and then I came and bopped him on the head, and I got rid of both of them that way.
Listen, it doesn't matter how you defeat them as long as you kill them.
Exactly. That's the whole thing I take away from Souls-likes. However you did it, it worked. Sea of Stars, played a little bit of it. It's like it's more like pixel graphic, like top-down, more classic one.
I've heard a bunch of people were really excited, and I think it was doing really well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was. And then Starfield. Starfield. It's in there. There you go.
I'm sure
folks.
there are other RPGs that could have beaten out Starfield.
Oh, they're probably maybe. It's hard to say.
My vote would have to be Baldur's Gate 3. Obviously, that's a huge game with lots you can do in it, and it's just really good.
I haven't even played Baldur's Gate 3, but I would say you're right. I do have to play it before the end of the year because I want to talk about it in my best to worst list.
There you go.
And so I will, but yes, from everything that I've seen, it makes sense that it would be that, although maybe they won't give it to Baldur's Gate 3 for this category because they want to give it to, I imagine it's in the Game of the Year category. So
I think you can get more than one category win.
I'm going to go to Action Adventure. Best Action Adventure Game.
Cool. Elden Ring.
Let's see. No, Elden Ring's been out. Okay. Here's your category. Oh, I haven't played any of these. That's
good.
That's great. So we've got Alan Wake 2.
Okay, that came out recently, I think.
Very recently, I think in the last month. Marvel's Spider-Man 2, which is a game where you get to play two Spider-Mans. But
Whoa, two of them.
But, notably, you can play two Spider-Mans, but there is no multiplayer. so there is that little caveat. Anyway, so there's that. Resident Evil 4, obviously the new version.
The remake, right?
The remake.
Yeah, I've heard good things about it.
Yes.
Like, it's just a better version of the original one, but...
Yeah, and hey, I'm sure it's great. Jedi Survivor. Star Wars Jedi Survivor, which if it's anything like the first one that they did, then I understand that. But again, it's weird because that I also think of as a Souls-like. So Lies of P is a Souls-like that's in the RPG category, and then the Jedi Survivor is a Souls-like that they're putting in the action adventure category. So I'm trying to think how they determined which like that Lies of P goes here and Jedi Survivor goes here. Is it because of the level of platforming? Because I guess Jedi Survivor is more of that. I don't know.
No idea.
And the one that's probably gonna win, Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom.
Maybe, yeah. What was that first game again?
Alan Wake 2.
Right. No, Tears of the Kingdom. What, back action adventure?
It's action adventure.
My guess is Tears of the Kingdom.
If I were to, yes, I would guess.
Or possibly Spider-Man.
Possibly the Spider-Mans. I will never discount the Resident Evil stands.
That's fair.
There is a very good possibility that they might just say Resident Evil 4 because people really just have nostalgia for the Resident Evil 4.
Isn't the Game Awards not voted on by, like, gamers? They're voted on by, like...
Oh, you can vote for these. I'm on the site. You can vote for them here. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Never mind.
So
wasn't there something? Maybe I don't remember. There was some award show. At
there
some
are
point
some.
Where it's like you get to vote, but like the actual votes that matter are this group of people out here, and it's really just industry people.
Yeah. Well, that's most award shows.
Yeah. So I don't put any stock in them, anyways.
But anyway, you can indeed vote for the Game Awards. Just for the record. Best action game. Again, these always feel so nebulous that they're, that they're near each other. Okay, interesting category. You've got, the one that's inevitably going to win because it's a FromSoft game is Armored Core 6, Fires of Rubicon.
On my wish list, looks interesting, have seen it, some of it played. I like mech games. I think they're cool. But
Yeah.
like I have Mech Warrior 5, and the issue I have is it's really slow and ponderous.
That is usually the problem that I have with games in that genre.
But then you get the there's a bunch. We could talk to Breeze about this sometime. But you get the
Sure.
Mech Warrior type games where you got slow, ponderous mechs. And I
Yeah.
get it. You want to feel big and powerful and shoot everything up. But then you get the other side, which are like the anime style ones,
Oh, sure.
which are like Gundam and stuff, where they're usually a lot faster, mobile action game style.
Right. Have you,
So
just side note, have you ever played Titanfall? Titanfall 2, okay. Because that's one of those where they're out of mech segments that are really fast, fluid, shooting, like, action platforming thing. And then they're like, oh, your mech's ready. And you jump into the mech, and now you're, like, in the big, heavy, like, it feels like it has weight to it, and you're shooting missiles at people. It's a...
yeah.
That...
I think I would like to get Armored Core 6 at some point. It looks fun, and the fact it's got a mission structure, and you can customize your mech out, looks really cool, as much as people are like, it is still hard.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
it's still like a FromSoft game, so don't expect it to be easy, but like,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, no, at least
That's
it's a little bit of a different structure. Okay.
Yeah.
The one after this, I'm, okay, Dead Island 2.
I guess that's an
Okay.
action game.
Yeah, no, it qualifies for the category. I'm just trying to figure out why it's on here. Maybe it was better than the original Dead Island? I haven't really looked into it much. Dead Island, I guess it's not made by Techland anymore. This is apparently Dan Buster Studios made this one, but Techland basically made two different kinds of zombie games, and they made the Dead Island, and then they made the Dying Light, right?
Right.
And Dying Light, I will go to my grave by saying, is so much better than Dead Island, it's not even really worth putting them in the same category.
Yeah.
And so, like, I don't know. Maybe they did something really cool with Dead Island 2, but I'm not aware. Ghost Runner 2. Not as familiar with it. I've seen it so many times, and I think there's people that are very positive about it, but I don't think it's my kind of game, personally.
Yeah, I don't know much about it, so.
Yeah. The one that I'd kind of like to see win, Hi-Fi Rush from Tango. It was one of those games that was a real big surprise right out of the gate. No one really knew it came out until they did like a Bethesda Direct. And they were like, oh yeah, it's on Game Pass right now. It's releasing as we speak. And then everyone played it and was like, oh wow, what a great new IP they built, like out of the ashes of this like rhythm-based combat game with great music and fluid graphics and stuff. Probably, I mean, there's a From Software game though, so
yeah, I would say probably Hi-Fi Rush or Armored Core 6.
Armored Core. Oh, there is a 1/5 option though, which does throw a monkey wrench into this, which is Remnant 2.
No.
I don't think it's going to. No. I liked Remnant. I heard really great things about Remnant 2, but I don't, for this category, I don't know. I don't know if that makes sense. Let's see if we can do something a little bit different. Let's do Best Ongoing. Because maybe...
Ongoing? What is that, like a live service game?
Like, yes.
Genshin Impact.
You know what? Genshin Impact is one of them.
Cool. Is Raid Shadow Legends on there too?
No. No Raid. Sorry. But this is interesting. Okay, so we've got Genshin Impact. We've got Fortnite. And Apex Legends.
Yeah, Fortnite's probably going to win. Just...
Well, it's Fortnite, it's Apex Legends, which is like Fortnite. From Respawn, who also did Titanfall. So there's something. And the Jedi Survivor. Final Fantasy XIV. And...
Oh yeah, that's an online game.
And this is an odd duck to put in here, but Cyberpunk 2077.
That's not ongoing. They're finally done with it. 2.0 and Liberty, Phantom Liberty are it.
Yeah, I don't think they have much for a roadmap of And also that just that makes me start thinking, are you talking about games with a roadmap of content? Because that's like every game now. If we're
but it doesn't have a roadmap of content. They said this is it. This is the final thing. We're not doing anything else for Cyberpunk.
Yeah, so how is that in the category? That's just really weird. After you put the other games up there to put Cyberpunk, it's a very different animal from those.
And it didn't come out this year.
No, well, but it's best ongoing, remember?
Oh, that's fair. That's fair.
You know.
Why isn't Raid Shadow Legends on there?
They gotta
Why
shell out more money.
On there?
They gotta shell out more money. I think that's what they gotta do.
I think it'll go to Fortnite.
Everything always goes to Fortnite.
Exactly.
Unless you have to think about the average person who's probably voting for the Game Awards. Is it going to be the 12-year-old who wants to play Fortnite all day long?
And the 20-year-olds that play Fortnite.
Oh, that's true.
If you're 12 or 20, let us know if you play Fortnite.
Best sim or strategy? Okay, so I'm trying to think...
City Skylines 2.
Good guess. Can you think of anything else that might be in here? City Skylines 2.
House Flipper.
No. Sorry.
Damn. House Flipper 2 comes out in December, so...
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think it was a little bit late. What is on here, though, besides City Skylines 2? Company of Heroes 3, which... Okay, great.
THQ.
Yeah. Relic Entertainment. That's Sega. Advance Wars 1 and 2. Reboot Camp.
I haven't even heard of that one.
Yeah, I know. It's a Nintendo game. They're usually on mobile, the Advance Wars ones.
Great.
Fire Emblem Engage. So...
Okay, that might do well.
And Pikmin 4.
It's a lot of Nintendo.
That is 3 Nintendos out of 5.
I'm gonna say Fire Emblem or City Skylines, but City Skylines 2 had a rough launch. So I heard.
So here's 2 categories that I want to go into. A little bit. Which is...
Let's go.
Best Independent Game and Best Debut Indie Game. Okay.
Okay, which do you want to do first?
Let's do Best Independent Game.
Okay.
Best Independent Game. Okay. Alright, so here's what we got. We've got Cocoon.
I haven't heard of it.
Dave the Diver.
Have heard of it.
Dredge. You've played
Have
that
it.
Yeah.
And played it.
Mm-hmm. I've played the demo with that. Sea of Stars. Played a little bit of it. And Viewfinder. Not familiar. Okay. So, as some people have pointed out, this does...
A bunch of the internet, including our friend in the Discord, to me, Clayton Calix, thank you.
Yes, Clayton even mentioned this, is that Dave the Diver is an interesting one to put in indie games because they are owned by a large studio.
Nexon is a Korean studio.
Yes.
Multi-billion-dollar studio.
Right. And another thing that a lot of people had pointed out in that same regard is, depending on how you really want to talk about independent games, that it's an indie studio that's not part of major studio conglomerates, Baldur's Gate 3 could qualify for this category. Because Larian is an indie studio.
Technically, yeah.
So...
they have AAA quality.
That's true.
But they've spent their time doing the same type of game.
That's true.
And building on the skills they know.
It's interesting, too, because, usually when I think of an indie game, I'm thinking that maybe they're self-publishing. They're self-publishing. But if we look at this, Cocoon is Geometric Interactive, but Annapurna is the one that's publishing it. Dredge is from Black Salt Games, but Team 17 publishes them. So, I am curious as to, what we would consider to be an independent game when you have publishers that are bringing them in. So, anyway, there's that. But then Best Debut Indie Game, there's definitely some overlap, because Viewfinder, Dredge, and Cocoon are on here, too.
Mm.
And then Venba and Pizza Tower are on here as well.
Seen Pizza Tower on Steam, don't know anything about it, and don't know Venba.
Venba is a game that I have been meaning to play, which is sort of about cooking. It's like a smaller casual game, but it's about a kid learning how to cook traditional meals from his parents, And so it's a little story-based and everything like that. Pizza Tower, I think, is supposed to be more of a throwback to, like, your classic platformers.
Okay.
So there's a little bit of that. But there's definitely some overlap in this particular category.
Well, I would vote for Dredge for both of those.
Yeah, you know what? I would probably do the same thing, just because it's the one I'm familiar with.
I enjoy it a bit. I haven't gone back to play it in a while, but it is... the gameplay loop is fun. It's, a little challenging. It's a little spooky. It's an interesting game, and I think it's well done.
Sure. Two aesthetic ones that I want to look at is just the audio and the art direction. Because
audio and art direction? Okay.
Yeah, so the first one is audio. I only say that because we do a lot of audio and design, and it's kind of in our thing. But audio design. Ooh! Great category for this. You've got the Alan Wake 2.
I haven't played it.
You've got the Dead Space. The new
Probably
Dead
decent.
Space. I've been starting to play a little bit of the new Dead Space, which I'm very happy about. Overall impression, general impression, just so people understand, a big improvement over the original from a user interface and quality of life standpoint. Big improvement. But yes, I understand, because the ambient noise and design that they have is very atmospheric, which you need for that kind of game. Hi-Fi Rush. Yes, great soundtrack.
Game, so that makes sense.
With like a licensed soundtrack to it. Yes.
Oh, nice.
Yes, very big. Like Black Keys shows up on that. Notable bands. Marvel's Spider-Man 2, which I'm sure has the same kind of score that you'd imagine for, big Marvel things. And then Resident Evil 4, another one that needs to have really good audio design for atmosphere.
I'm going to say I would discount Hi-Fi Rush here only because it's using licensed audio.
Well, that's an interesting... Yeah, I would say that's a fair criticism.
It's audio direction, but it's not audio design, necessarily.
Yeah. Audio design, yeah.
It's not... I mean, the sound effects and all that stuff could be fine, but, like, if the main purpose is the rhythm game aspect, which is using the licensed audio...
Oh, sure.
Then I feel like it's more of a, this is high quality because it's music that you would hear on the radio.
You know what? I'm going to agree with you on this, because there is a separate category here for best score and music.
Okay.
And actually Hi-Fi Rush is in that category as well. So I would say just leave that to that, because when I'm thinking of audio design, I'm thinking about how it's actually put together in terms of the atmosphere and trying to lend itself to the game itself. Yeah. Which is, I'm just going to give it to Dead Space, because I think that they did a really great job with the atmosphere and the sound design. Very, very good for when you get onto the Ishimura. In case you're wondering, very similar for score and music, because Alan Wake 2 and Hi-Fi Rush, Final Fantasy 16, Baldur's Gate 3, and Legend of Zelda all come up on that one.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
They're all pretty good. Alan Wake, I think, has pretty good audio as well. I think I've seen a bit of one or two, and it was pretty atmospheric, but I haven't played them.
If Remedy is doing anything with this one as they have with previous games, like when they did Control, I imagine that it's a pretty good musical score.
Okay.
Art direction. Okay.
Yes.
Let's talk about art direction. We've got Alan Wake 2. Some people have a real hard-on for Alan Wake 2, it seems like.
Some people, as I said, a lot of the categories have a lot of the same games.
It really
just featured over and over again.
I don't know if that's a healthy sign, that there just weren't as diverse a crowd of different kinds of games that could get into these categories.
Don't know who picks them.
Yeah, that's true. Hi-Fi Rush, though, which is a pretty clear contender for this category.
Yeah.
Lies of P, which I guess, but I don't know if it did anything particularly outstanding in art direction.
It kind of looks like a FromSoft game, and I think it's going for that anyways.
It looks like Bloodborne.
It's just kind of a gothic environment, which they can look fine, but it's not an art direction you don't expect.
Right. And then we have Super Mario Bros. Wonder, which looks like a 3D version of Mario. And then we have Tears of the Kingdom again,
which is just the
Breath
base
of the
game
Wild.
of Breath of the Wild. They
Yeah.
didn't change anything for that.
If you like the art design of Breath of the Wild, you're gonna love the Tears of the Kingdom.
I would definitely give it to Hi-Fi Rush. I've seen what the game looks like, and it's, first of all, something out of the gate that you'd never heard of before. Brand new IP.
Beautiful.
And it's well done. And it's like, okay, you went with it. You said, yeah, we're gonna run with this style and make everything fit it. Yeah, 100%.
I have to admit that rhythm-based games are not my favorite thing, but what I did play of Hi-Fi Rush, the immediate impression I got was, holy shit, the graphics. Like, just I literally, like, not only is it like this beautiful, like, cel-shaded animation style, but it's also so silky smooth in how it's in how it's produced, and it's really a standout. That's like a no holds barred. I would just say, that's what I would go with. I want to talk about narrative.
Baldur's Gate.
Yeah, you bet. You bet. And you know what? It probably has a pretty good chance because it's up against Alan Wake 2, again, Cyberpunk 2077 Phantom Liberty.
I heard the narrative was good in that, but again, Baldur's Gate.
Yeah. Spider-Man 2 and Final Fantasy 16. Yeah, Baldur's Gate 3 is still...
Baldur's Gate, 100%. I mean, Final Fantasies have a very formulaic structure as is. I don't know if 16's any different than the last 15.
Right.
But it's a teenage protagonist wants to kill God.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's something at least approximating. God. That's approximating probably what it is.
I'm pretty sure Yahtzee or someone else that I listened to said something about like the JRPG genre. JRPG genre is
there
a lot of that is the thing. It's like, here's the premise, angsty teens. I think it was listening to Legend of Dragoon maybe. Someone did a lengthy retrospective of that.
So let's just get to the big one. Game of the year. Let's do it.
Baldur's Gate.
Yeah, we got Baldur's Gate 3. Here's the other competitors. We got 6 in this category. Here's what's up. We've got Alan Wake 2. Marvel's...
No, too new.
Marvel Spider-Man 2.
No, just Marvel.
Resident Evil 4.
Maybe?
Which, man, I'm always fascinated with the number of remakes that are then up for Game of the Year for being the game that was there before. Super Mario Brothers Wonder and Tears of the Kingdom.
Absolutely not. It's going to Baldur's Gate.
It would be
Baldur's Gate broke all the metrics when it came out.
Yes.
Like, it broke Steam.
Yeah. And frankly, it is a once in a blue moon sort of game where you actually have a studio that's able to spend the time, have the resources, have the IP, and have the ability to build a game as good as that. It is a rarity to see that in the modern gaming space, and I think they're gonna. It has paid off for them. So there's that. Not to throw too much shade at some of the other ones. Some of these are ones I would want to play. Most of them are ones I'd want to play, but I don't see them beating out Baldur's Gate 3, which will probably sweep.
And there was a whole discussion, and this is not the topic, like around when Baldur's Gate 3 came out and it massively succeeded. But like, there's a whole discussion around like the games industry being like, oh, we can't match that quality all the time. This can't be the new metric you need to judge everyone else by. And it's like, we don't. No, we're not doing that. We're just saying this is what an indie game company can do. You guys need to have a standard that's at least not shit.
Right. There's a whole conversation that at some point maybe we can get into, but about how no, I don't expect that the situation, the circumstances that led to a Baldur's Gate 3 can be replicated over and over again. I don't expect that. But also that if we're going to hold that up and say, isn't it great what they did here? Maybe game studios can take something away from that and say this is something people want and they appreciate it. Like, they appreciate what they did here. Maybe we can take something away from it. But anyway, that's the Game Awards, which I believe are going to be streaming in December. So it's coming right up, and we'll see what wins. We'll see if our predictions are right. Although I don't really... December 7th, it's gonna be hosted.
Pearl Harbor Day.
Yeah, Peacock Theater in Los Angeles. Oh no, it's close. It's close to the Pearl Harbor-ish.
Oh boy.
Oh no, I think our predictions are probably going to be pretty accurate because it doesn't really seem like that much of a close race competition for any of these categories.
Yeah.
If you're out there and you're thinking about watching the Game Awards, or you have a particular pick that you would like to vote for, let us know in the comments down below. And if you think that there was something that should have been nominated for one of those categories, you let us know that too. I can't change them now.
You can shout into the voting and make sure the game that you want to win wins.
That's how it works. Yeah, go and vote.
If you care about these things. I'm not going to vote.
Go and vote at GameAwards.com and let us know in the comments down below what you think of the nominees. On a recent episode of the show, we were talking a little bit about base building. And you wanted to talk a little bit more about the actual mechanics of base building.
Yeah.
And now I've given you a little bit of time.
Sure.
To play
I've spent all of that time not thinking about base building.
Perfect. Great. Well, now you get to.
So I don't remember exactly what we talked about then, because that's been weeks ago at this point. But base building is something that a lot of games, especially like survival games.
Yes.
Or colony games, for instance, have. There's different types of base building. I wanted to more so talk about the kind of game where you actually go in by hand and build a base more than an RTS where you are placing buildings.
Oh, sure, yeah.
So either a survival game or a Minecraft type game, or even, say, The Sims has building mechanics. You know, something like that.
Sure, yeah, okay.
And so that kind of building mechanic. And there's a bunch of different ways you can do it. Obviously, all games kind of have their own way of doing things a little differently. You've played Valheim, right?
I've played Valheim, yeah.
So that one's got, how stable things are.
Sure.
So you can't, if you build out too far and there's no support, it'll collapse.
That's true.
That's cool. That's a cool building mechanic. Then there's games like Minecraft. It's very blocky. It's you place a block, you place a block, you place a block, and then if it's a block that is affected by gravity without a block underneath it, it just falls to the ground. But you can place blocks midair. They're fine.
The actual physics of something like Minecraft are non-existent when it comes to structural support.
More or less. Yeah, I mean, water does flow down to the lowest point,
and lava will flow if you if you get there,
but otherwise physics don't really matter in Minecraft.
I can sit on clouds if I wanted to in Minecraft, so there's that.
Maybe but there's a lot of different types of building mechanics you can have in games, and some of them are good, some of them are bad, and some of them are just tedious as fuck.
Yeah, so tell me about some of the tedious ones, because I'm thinking about it too, and the fact of the matter is that a lot of times when they introduce a base building mechanic, my initial thought is, oh god, this is going to take me so much time that I never will actually get the benefits from having.
What was that game you played recently during Next Fest? And you were like, yeah, it gives you 1,000 bricks because you have to place them all down by hand.
Oh, Enshrouded. It was Enshrouded.
Yeah.
Yes.
You were telling me about that, and that's why I think I originally had thought of talking about base building and just building mechanics.
Yeah, that's when we were talking about it originally. It was like if you craft this 5 stone or something, they'll give you 100 stone bricks, and then you get these tiny little stone bricks, and you have to place them all individually. You can't make a wall. You can't say, hey, I want to build a wall and it has to be this high and stuff, and just place a ton of bricks at one time. You gotta manually place them down.
See, I don't mind that in a simulation game.
Sure.
So if you're saying playing something like a house flipper, or there's a house builder I've tried, because those games are just kind of relaxing to me, in that sense, that is fine. But if it's not a simulation game, Enshrouded was a survival game?
It's a survival game, yeah.
That is not something I want to do in a survival game. I understand
No.
that it's more realistic for the survival, but I don't want to. I'm not going to build a wall if it means I have to place down 500 planks.
Exactly. It is too
Like,
much. It is too much to deal with.
it's just a time sink for me. It's like I have other things I want to do in my life right now.
Yeah.
And another game that I just recently tried again that I had gotten a couple of years ago now. Thought it sounded interesting, but just didn't vibe well, was the game Eco, which I think I talked about at one point.
A little bit. What's the deal with Eco, though?
So, like, it's supposed to be, a multiplayer experience. You can build buildings and factories and things like that, but you start from, like, the ground up.
Mm-hmm.
So you're chopping trees and mining and doing all that. But everything you want to do requires, like, a person being trained in that skill.
Sure.
So even me at the beginning of the game, it's like, all right, I want to, maybe I can learn carpentry. And it's like, you need a skill book for that. Someone to be able to train with it. I was like, what? This does not explain any of this. Okay, I'll just go chop some trees down. And it's like, okay. So you chop some trees, but then you've got to carry them back.
Yeah.
Like 1, 2, or 3 at a time. And it's like back and forth, back and forth. So it becomes really tedious because I pick up a shovel full of dirt, and now I need to go walk it somewhere else and dump it, and then go back and pick up a shovel full of dirt.
Oh, no.
So either that, or I could pick up a shovel full of dirt here and drop it in the tile next to me, and just keep doing that. But
right.
It's not like it goes into an inventory.
Yeah.
Unless you're close to a camp or something.
Right.
So it becomes very tedious.
That reminds me of Grounded, which you've seen me play on this show, but when you get to Blades of Grass, I have to carry the Blades of Grass. They don't go into my inventory. So you have to carry, and you can only carry like a stack of 5, and you have to get them onto a pallet. And so now you're just creating this tedious, like, supply chain thing that you have to deal with in order to get one thing to another area. And it's just busy work.
Which is, yeah, it's busy work. Which is fine if you can find a way to make it easier. For instance, in your case for Grounded, I would say have the ability to make some kind of sled you can pull behind you that you can stack a ton of grass on.
Yeah,
I don't think you can do that.
I'm going to hire the Ladybugs, and I'm going to make the Ladybugs carry my blades of grass around for me. They're work Ladybugs.
Yeah. I don't expect a game to always be like... I don't expect a game to be like, yeah, you can just do it like Fallout 4, for instance, has base building, technically. You can build stuff in there.
Yes, very much so.
That one's kind of an afterthought in that game, but it's simple enough that it's not hard to do.
And something that they did in Fallout 4 that I would have liked to see in more of these base building games is having prefab designs. So that if you don't want to just start from scratch and you can unlock different designs, you can say, hey, let's make a small shack, a large shack. You need this much for resources. If you have it in your inventory or you have it in your chests, that's the other thing. Make sure that your chests are accessible from your work library. You just build it where you want to place it. This has saved me like an hour of trying to build from scratch and put every little piece down, which, is very useful for those sorts of games. So I would definitely suggest that. The thing that gets annoying for me when I'm trying to build bases in games is when I realize I'm spending more time building the bases than I am actually, completing the game. Or when I'm spending more time worried about going out and collecting resources to build the base than I am, exploring the game itself. Which is what I'd like to be doing, please.
I mean, I enjoy base building, for the most part. If it's done well, it's really cool, because if there's a lot of different versatility you can do with a base, or if the base serves a purpose other than just being somewhere to sleep.
Sure.
I enjoy the simulation games, so building a house in The Sims, enjoyable.
Sure.
It's like, I'm going to live here. This is where my game is taking place, and I can alter it when I need to for the gameplay, and that's cool. I enjoy that. House Flipper 2 is going to have stuff you can build houses in, but the way, if you've played House Flipper, the way you can build things and the way you put down flooring and the walls, painting, and all that stuff is relaxing, is enjoyable. It's not tedious because it's not bad to do. It's fun enough to do, but it's also not just busy work because, like, it's part of the game.
Well, see, that's the thing, is that in things like House Flipper, the actual, like, essentially base building mechanics or the building mechanics are central to the game. You're building it out, and that is the game itself. So it is more than just an activity that you do. But when you get into RPGs and survival games where it's sort of like another thing you do in addition, you start to realize that a lot of it is tedium that you do to get to the actual game. Which is going out and exploring and going into caves and, and fighting monsters and stuff like that, all of that good stuff. And so then you're just spending an inordinate amount of time building your base. This happened to me, actually, since we were just talking about the Game Awards, one of the nominees, which was Starfield, because Starfield actually has a whole base building mechanic I didn't really even touch for the most part, where you can build bases on different planets. But they do also have the shipbuilding mechanic. And what you'll start to realize when you get into the shipbuilding mechanic is, because it's your mobile base, essentially.
Right.
Is that you're spending an inordinate amount of time trying to relay out your ship so that it can actually move. It has the necessary power requirements, and that you can arrange it so that it makes sense for all of your cargo capacity, which takes up a lot of space, and takes up a lot of mass. But then you also need to be able to have the whole thing fly, and you also want, like, your habs to be able to give you workstations and stuff like that. So you have to lay it out so that you can access all of it. And I found that there were times where you'd end up spending like an entire hour just remodifying your ship around so that it works appropriately, which, once you do it and then realize, oh, this sucks, that's always a kick in the pants, to have that happen to you, which it did on several occasions. But as I said, I didn't even touch, after like 100-something hours, I had not even touched the base building mechanic, because I frankly didn't see the reason why.
Would you? Yeah.
I didn't understand the reason why. To, like, store extra equipment, then I got to go back to my base all the time to get my equipment.
Yeah, and that's the other thing too, is when you have, like, storage, for instance, a lot of times in these games, especially survival games, storage is not linked anywhere.
Yeah.
You have to go, if you want something from a chest, you have to go find the chest. And you'll have, like, 2,000 chests, you know? What No Man's Sky does, for instance, that was a little nicer, where they have the storage vaults.
Yes.
And you can have them on your freighter, and you can have them on your bases. And if your freighter is equipped with a teleporter, you can look at your freighter's cargo from anywhere else.
Yes, that was a big addition for them, too, because they didn't used to have that.
Right, and the fact that all your storage containers, if you build a couple in your base, they are all the same storage containers if you're in another base, or if you're on your freighter. It is all shared storage.
Right. So that's the next thing, is make sure to link your storage somehow, or have the ability to link your storage.
Yeah.
Please.
That's something New World did terribly at the beginning. Not even a base building game, but each individual township in that game, all of the banks for where you put your storage, stuff in storage, they were all disconnected. And it was like, why? It's like, oh, we want people to, like, factional warfare and, like, take over towns and stuff. But it's like, okay, we understand this, that you want the PvP. But, like, I don't want to have to go back to this town owned by another faction to get my stuff out if I want to do stuff. And the only reason there, specifically, I think, would be to store things in different locations. Would be, oh, maybe this town's got better workshops for this crafting, and this one has better stuff for armor crafting. So I'll store my armor crafting stuff in one spot, and I'll store my other things where that's useful. But even then, just link all your banks together.
What's interesting is I mentioned on the last episode that I've been playing War Tales, and they have an inventory issue there where, your crew can carry only so much weight. And once you get to a certain level in your accolades, you can put down these trade posts in the major towns and buy them. And there you have like this unlimited storage chest where you can put stuff in. In that game, though, the stuff does stay in the specific storage that you put it in. So if I have it in this region, when I go to the other region, I don't have instant access. But they do something that's interesting for, I guess, for the world building of it, but also to make it a little bit more accessible. If you have an object, or you have a weapon, armor, something like that, you kept in another chest, you can pay a fee to have it transported to the one that you're currently at.
Okay.
So that, if I'm willing to shell out a little bit of gold, like 50 gold, this object that's in another place, I don't have to travel there. It will come to me. And so that's the trade-off. No.
So, I know this is all tangential to base building at this point. It's fine.
But it is actually kind of important to base building because it's one of the reasons you do it.
Right. So this is, again, tangential to base building, but of all the games that let you do something similar to that, Elite Dangerous.
Oh, okay.
And it's not necessarily storage of items, because anything that you want to store, you have in your ships. You don't get bases. So if you want items in your inventory, mostly just for trade, they're in your ship inventory and not a base. But your ships, on the other hand, if you want to get your ship if you're several systems away and you don't want to go fetch your a spaceship, a specific one that you've got, you can just have it transferred. It'll be like, pay this money for the cost, like it, and it'll take this amount of time, but we will deliver your ship to you.
Oh, sure.
It makes moving your, like, if you've got 5 or 6 ships and you're making your base in your home system, a new system, halfway across the galaxy, just ship them over.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
And that's really nice.
Yeah, I think that this actually gets us to a question that we haven't really addressed yet on this segment, which is, what's the actual purpose of base building in the games? And like, when we're talking about storage, like, that seems to be a thing where it's like, I just keep getting encumbered. I need to put my stuff in a place, so I need to store it somewhere. And that is one reason, but I feel like there should be more to base building and more to the reason why you have the base than just, I want to store my stuff somewhere.
I feel like most of the time it is utility as both storage and a place to craft.
That too, because you have crafting stations you can put up, workbenches.
I'm curious if you could play a game that would require you to have crafting and storage without storage. Or without utilizing much of the base building at all, really. I know for some games it'd probably be really impossible or really hard, but it'd be interesting to see.
Well, if you're just looking to do the crafting, but you don't have to worry about the space considerations, I got a few games that Piranha Bytes did that don't have any real storage limits, so you can carry everything on you all the time, but you would have to seek out crafting stations in the world to utilize it to do stuff with them. So like your Elixes and your Risens and those kinds of games, or Gothic. Yeah, but all of those famously have the one nice convenience of having unlimited storage space. You can keep as much as you want on you at any time.
There you go.
But they don't really have bases in that game at all. I mean, you have like a central location where like your teammates and stuff hang out, but there's no base that you build in those, which I guess doesn't really function. That the other thing too in survival games that you'll see bases used for too is as a defensive post, because when I build my house in Grounded, it's mostly to try and keep the spiders out.
Right,
from
as one
attacking
does.
me. Yeah, because you don't want spiders coming into your house. I don't. So, at any rate, you need to do it as a defensive thing. That also happened to me in Valheim. The little monsters come and little gremlins try to beat up your base in that game. So, I guess as a defensive structure, sure. As a storage area, sure. As a crafting area, sure. The other thing, though, and maybe it's just me, is I think it should have a certain hominess to it. Like if you're playing a survival game, I think the idea is, from an aesthetic standpoint, it's there to contrast that very harsh world that you're in with a safe haven. And that's more of a story beat or like an actual role-playing beat than anything else. But I think it has to do that. One of the reasons why you see a lot of decorations listed in like base building mechanics about like trophies I can put on my wall or fireplaces that don't really serve for any reason. They don't.
Yeah, my thought on those is that decorations are fine, but I feel like if you give them a reason to exist,
oh, sure,
like if they provide some kind of passive bonus, perhaps,
sure,
then it would make them more attractive to like actually use.
Right, like you can think that maybe from if you have psychological meters or something, decoration improves the quality of your rest time or something like that.
Right, like if you have more decorations in where your bed is, you could have more comfort, and more comfort gives you, like, if you have an energy meter or stamina, maybe it makes you have a buff after you sleep. Something like that would make decorations more useful.
Right, and if you do have thermal meters, obviously fires are going to be useful for that. If you have anything like that, they do have similar things to that in like Valheim, for instance. I don't mind base building, but I would like to see a lot of those systems that are more streamlined, and I would like to see that the usefulness of it is more than just, hey, you can build a base now and store your shit in it.
Yeah.
Out of all the games that you've played, though,
dear.
Do you have an example that you would particularly want to cite as doing base building well overall? It's harder than you think, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah, no.
I don't think I have one offhand. I'd have to look through my Steam library.
I also fall into this problem because every time I start thinking about a game where I had to do base building or it was an option, I think about things that I didn't like about it.
Yeah.
Not about things that I enjoyed.
Like, I could just say, I could just say No Man's Sky, but it still has the issue of, the being, like, snapping together, how you build it, and then the landscape just kind of comes back sometimes. Like, that's an issue it still has.
Yeah, and games like No Man's Sky or even Subnautica, or we both played Breathage recently, which has a similar kind of mechanic, is that a lot of it feels like, oh, I'm making a base for the sake of making a base. There's not tons of utility to them, except for, I gotta get out of the harshness of the world that I'm in right now. And in Breathage, it's because you're running out of oxygen, and in Subnautica, it's because you're running out of oxygen. And in No Man's Sky, it's because there's probably a thermal storm coming or something like that. So there's that. But most of the time, you're putting down the bases for the sake of having a base of operations on whatever planet you're on. So I can't really say. Every time I think about it, I'm like, yeah, this is stuff I didn't like about this system for the base building. And that's annoying because it seems like it's in every game, or it's in so many, and yet there's always some kind of problem. Either it's that it doesn't have the utility that you want, that you spend too much time on it, that it's all about just doing storage, that I have to spend an inordinate amount of time to build it, that it doesn't snap together correctly, or that the UI doesn't work right, and it's annoying because you would think with as many games that do it, one of them would perfect it.
Yeah.
One of them would perfect it, and I haven't seen it yet. And Shrouded is definitely not it.
Maybe come December when I get House Flipper 2, I'll be like, wow, this game did it so well. It is now my favorite house and or base building game. But who knows?
If it happens, you come on, we'll do a segment. We will talk about House Flipper 2.
We can talk about it regardless, so it's fine.
Yeah, we'll talk about it, and we'll see if it is that example, regardless. So
there you go.
There you go. If any of you out there, though, have an example of a really good system for base building out there, and you have a game that you might want us to look into, let me know, because I'm always looking for games that can perfect these systems specifically. Maybe it's one I'm familiar with, maybe it's one I have kicking around Steam and I just never got around to playing, so you let me know in the comments down below. On the subject of base building, though, Alex, I'm on D&D Beyond, and I'm looking at just like what the newer Unearthed Arcana has been that came out. And the most recent round was for something called Bastions and Cantrips. Now, cantrips we're familiar with.
Yes.
We use them all the time. However, Bastions was something I was not familiar with at all. And I wanted to look into it, and it turns out that it kind of is a base building mechanic that they want to implement for D&D. Since we're here, let's talk a little bit about Bastions.
Sure. What are bastions?
Alright, so here is the overview. A bastion is a location that belongs to a player character, a home, a stronghold, and a place of power that the character nurtures and develops over the course of the campaign. A bastion offers a character temporary refuge from a dangerous world of adventuring, and it provides opportunities for a character to craft magical items, conduct research, harvest poisons, build ships, and carry out a broad range of other activities. It's up to the DM to decide whether bastions are available in the campaign. Bastions are best suited to campaigns that allow characters to return to their bastions during intervals when they're not actively adventuring. There's no need to choose between going on adventures and commanding a bastion. A character can do both at once. A bastion has special facilities that generate in-game benefits, and these facilities can also undertake projects while the character is otherwise preoccupied. Bastions are intended to be havens for the character who own them, although random events might set a bastion from time to time. There are events I'll talk about in a minute. The bastion can be destroyed in only two ways. We'll talk about that too. Most importantly, a bastion is a creative playground for a player and a shared storytelling place in the campaign. DMs should be as permissive as possible with the stories players tell in their bastions, but players should know their control only goes as far as the campaign's larger story, which the DM strives to make fun for everyone. Okay, so that's the basic overview of what these are. Okay. In here, there's a little bit more information about that. You have hirelings and defenders for this. You can essentially hire defenders if you get attacked. And you can have hirelings that run different installations in the building as you build them. You get a bastion when you reach level 5.
Okay.
You can make some decisions on how it comes into being. So you can you receive a parcel of land, maybe you get a pre-existing structure and you have to refurbish it. You know, this is all narrative at this point. A wizard might build a tower. A cleric might want to establish a shrine. You get it. The bastion has turns, similar to how characters have turns, but these are more overarching ones. As time passes in the campaign, characters take bastion turns to reflect the activity occurring in their bastions, whether or not the characters are present. A bastion turn occurs every 7 days of in-game time.
Man, that means you're gonna have to keep track of days.
You're gonna have to keep track of days, though the DM can alter the frequency of bastion turns.
Every hour.
Yeah, every hour. On a bastion turn, a character can issue orders to the special facilities at their bastion, or issue the maintain order to the entire bastion. And the maintain order, just in case you're wondering, gives you essentially bastion points for each one of your facilities, which you can spend on stuff. There are a few different ways that you can do this. If you're on a mission and you want to just do maintenance, they'll just roll for bastion events and stuff like that. which I'll get into in a minute. But in general, either whether you're there or whether you're away, the Bastion will be doing things. Like it's an actual working base of operations. So I find that to be an interesting idea. So far,
I find it interesting that if the players are away, they'd be rolling for things with the Bastion.
Well, the GM is rolling for things.
Okay.
The GM is rolling for things. In fact, I'll go to the place where they actually explain that a little bit more in detail. In similar fashion to, like, you've DM'd before. Sometimes there will be tables, like wild magic tables or something, where you have to roll for certain events that the characters are not aware of.
Yeah.
There are Bastion events. Yeah. So you roll for them, and you have a D20. Mm-hmm. Your D20 basically suggests that there's a series of things that could happen. Like on a 1 to 9, nothing happens, really. On a 10, you can get attacked. And when you get attacked by a hostile force, and you roll 6d6. For each die that rolls a 1, one Bastion Defender dies. So you have certain numbers of Bastion Defenders. There's a menagerie where you can hire animals and have the animals be your defenders, etc. But for every one, you have a defender that dies. If you have not had contact with your Bastion, it can fall. You can give it up at any time if you wanted to, and your hirelings will be released and it will be abandoned. But then it can also happen if a character issues no orders to their Bastion for a number of consecutive Bastion turns equal to their level. Typically because the character is dead or otherwise out of commission. The hirelings abandon the Bastion and the site is eventually looted, and the character returns later. They have the option to start it again, a new Bastion, perhaps building it amid the ruins of the old one.
Yeah, so here's the thing that I find weird about that, is if I'm away, how am I issuing orders to a Bastion?
Well, you would have the ability to do something like, say, we're doing maintenance, or something before you leave. Right, like when you are there, you can set up some stuff for the different places that you're there. Like, for instance, your special facilities, you can issue orders. Your arcane study allows you to craft certain things. Your armory is like a trade post, so it can generate money and stuff like that. And you could tell them to do that, and then there are time frames for them to complete those missions. Which, maintenance is an easy one, where each time you issue the maintain order, the character who issued it gains 1d4 Bastion points for each special facility in the Bastion, and you roll for the event table as well. You can do recruitment, you can do research. Some of these facilities will allow you to literally just do research or crafting for unique items. You have guild halls that you can set up, which literally means that if you're a thief and you want to create a thieves guild, you can do that. You can assign thieves to infiltrate a location within 50 miles of your Bastion and steal a non-magical item from it. The object can be no bigger than a 5-foot cube and is delivered to your Bastion in 1d6 plus 1 days. So that would be like an order. A white key is left in its place. The DM may decide that this activity leaves you at risk of retaliation from law enforcement or the victim. Yes, I would think that would indeed be something you have to be concerned about.
I'm actually less interested about the Bastion events.
Okay.
Because those are just like random encounters.
Sure. Okay, so what are you interested in?
I'm more interested in, like, what they're good for.
What are they good for? Certainly. Yeah. Well, I think that's... Yeah.
There's 23 pages in this PDF. And events are, like, the least interesting part to me.
Certainly. So I think that if we were talking about that, it would be the special facilities that you can build.
Because
I think so.
like it lists like, you know, basic features: bedroom, courtyard, dining room, kitchen, parlor, storage, washroom.
Certainly.
Basic features like adding space to make it cramped, roomy, fast. You've got the ability to enlarge your facilities, and then you've got your special facilities.
Sure.
And these are, I think, what makes the Bastion actually interesting.
Yeah, one of the fun ones that I liked, if you look at Menagerie, it's a level 13 Bastion facility. In order to recruit, you need 1d8 Bastion points. You commission the facility's hirelings to add a creature from the Menagerie creatures to your Menagerie. So basically, you're creating a stable of just animals, and the animals can even be assigned to the Defender roster. So you want a brown bear to be your Defender, you can do that, or an owl bear.
Giant scorpions.
Oh, giant scorpions. That's excellent.
Yep.
Owl bear.
Bears.
Let's get an owl bear. It's fun to have menagerie creatures. You could have them out there. Pubs. The pub has a magical beverage on tap. Chosen from
my favorite type of pub.
You have literally ones that have special effects. Big Vig's Burden. Drinking this beverage grants you the enlarge effect of enlarged reduce spell that has a duration of 24 hours. So, hey, just get a drink that can make you big. Or Spider Climb. There's the Kiss of the Spider Queen. We'll give you Spider Climb. There are ones that will give you magical items. There is ways in like scriptoriums where you can do book replicas or craft scrolls. You can cast Healing Word in Sanctuary so that you can heal yourself from missions. There's abilities to, at a smithy, craft ammunition or simple weapons, armor, martial weapons. The stables that come with a riding horse and 2 ponies, or mules if you would care. A lot of functionality that you can take outside of your Bastion, I think, is what you get into with these facilities. There's also a theater that you can build, and the theater contains a stage and a back room area. I'm thinking for bards, this is what makes sense. You can contribute to a production as either the composer, writer, conductor, director, or the performer. And at the end of a rehearsal period, each character who contributes to the concert or production can make a DC 15 charisma check. If more of these checks succeed than fail, you and any other character who contributed to the concert or production gain a theater die, which is a D6. And this die increases to D8 at 13, etc. At any point after the rehearsal end, a character can expend their theater die to roll it and add the number rolled to one ability check, attack roll, or saving throw they make. It's sort of like a bardic inspiration.
Yeah.
So, like that.
As I'm looking through this, because I was looking at the PDF too.
Yes.
I feel like the Bastion would serve a really good as a point in a story. Like a stronghold for the party and not just individual. Like they're given to players, it says PCs, you know.
It is. It does say that.
But I would almost go with the party gets a Bastion.
Yes.
And you can all decide what you do with it individually.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can either like divide it into wings that each of you has a part of, but like this is all of yours.
Mm-hmm.
And pool it. I would pool it.
Mm.
Even though, like, maybe the Bastion points, each player gets to spend them individually.
Mm-hmm.
I would say have each player then have their own Bastion points stockpiled, and they can't combine them, perhaps, because then they can use them for what they want instead of pooling that together.
Mm-hmm.
But imagine having the game start in a Bastion.
Yeah.
Like, they're level 1, but they're here, so maybe it gets destroyed by the time they're level 5. And it's like, cool, this was destroyed, but you guys have survived, and you can choose to rebuild it how you want.
Sure.
Like, you're the surviving members that are, like, you have the inheritance to this place or whatever.
Sure. Yeah.
Or maybe the local king granted you that after it was burned down and you tracked down the arsonist or whatever. It doesn't matter what the story thread is, but I think it would make a good base of operations for players.
Yeah. Yeah.
But like, it's a really interesting. I don't know that the mechanics of it are enticing enough on their own for players to really go, I want that. Because it seems tedious. Again, with the base building we were talking about before, parts of this seem rather tedious.
Okay. Yeah, I can understand that. I think that maybe the basic uses of your bastion points and just your accumulation therein might make sense, because you can spend bastion points on, like, acquiring magical items. You know, I could get a legendary item if I spend 700 bastion points. I can spend 10 bastion points to ensure word of my heroic deeds spread throughout the region. So for 7 days, I get advantage on charisma checks within 50 miles.
I think some of the features are really cool, and the things you can do with it are really cool. But the tedium, that's the issue with me, for me, is that, hey, so you've got this thing, you need to learn all the mechanics in the game beyond what you've already had to learn to play the basic game. This is more for you to learn, and some players don't want to learn more. They just want to go on an adventure.
That's true. That's true. This is more for the homesteading aspect, if people want to play that way. Also interesting is that they say a character can spend 100 bastion points if you die to return to life in your bastion at the next dawn. And you can do that only until you gain another level. But the thing about it is that I can see the functionality of all those things. I understand why they probably wanted to do this, because people like the idea of being able to build something, you know.
I do. I think it's cool, but I also think that it's a 23-page PDF.
Sure.
Well, I think it's a little less because the, the fact that some of them are cantrips. But at the 20-page PDF on this, these are all the rules and things you can do with a Bastion.
Sure.
On top of, say, me learning all the different ways that I can play the ranger I'm playing, for instance.
Sure.
So it's a lot to learn and figure out and do, especially up front.
Yeah.
It's a lot of decision making, and that means taking a session, essentially, to set up a Bastion.
Yeah, and I mean, that might be one of the reasons why they said it shouldn't really be set up till level 5, because you'd want people to be familiar with your system as it stands. I am also, though, there was a little caveat that I saw here, under the spending Bastion points, that I thought was very interesting, that alludes to something a little bit larger, which is that characters who have reached level 20 can use Bastion points to acquire a magic item each time they earn a bonus feat, which is every 30,000 XP above 355,000 XP. Yeah. And my thought process there is, so are we saying that you basically can keep gaining bonus feats after level 20? It sounds like it. Which is interesting too. Kind of nice, because it means your character never really stops growing. But I like the idea of being able to do this for, like, larger projects, but I wouldn't want to spend too much time on it. Where we're setting, like, I could understand, like, you spend, like, a session where you're actually setting up the Bastion. Me personally, I'd want to do it, like, as maybe like that pub, like that tavern that's in town as your Bastion, or as a tower, or like as almost a thieves guild or something in the Undercity or something like that. Set that up, get used to, like, your hirelings, give them, and the defenders, give them some personality, give them names and everything like that, establish that, but then not have to think all that much about it until you have, like, the downtime sessions between your quest logs, where you're going back, and at that point I want it to mostly be about the narrative part, about, like, the actual doing of stuff, while you're in town. Like, oh, we got a letter from a valuable patron, and they want to meet you at this place, and so then you're off to do that. And maybe just spend like, I don't know, like half an hour or to an hour where the crew just decides like, well, do you want to build anything? Do you have any interest in building any of the special facilities? Do you want to spend any of your bastion points? Just real quick, like anything you want to do there, or anyone you want to talk to.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Depending like how long you spend, like if you're traveling, for instance, if you're doing overland travel, maybe you're doing it for like a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you're on a boat for a month.
I'm on a boat. Yeah,
I'm on a boat, but maybe you're on a boat for a month. So that's several Bastion events that would have happened, and a lot of stuff going on. And it's like, do you really want to bog down the players with a half hour to an hour, even if it's just that, to be like, let's go over Bastion stuff? Some people, especially more casual players, might see this just as homework.
That's true. One thing that they could do is, so we have the Bastion events that are on like a D20 scale, and you're supposed to do them like every 7 days. Something you could do as a DM is roll for it, and then keep track of that just like off to the side about the stuff that's been happening at the Bastion while they're away. And then when they come back, they get informed of what's happened with the Bastion while they were away.
And you could definitely do something like that if you figured out how to make it work right.
Yeah, I mean, it would just be a matter of like, oh, okay, they've been traveling for 7 days, roll my D20, just like off to the side. Well, they're not, they're just doing their own thing. Oh, I got a 17, an honored guest came by, so I, can figure out who that was in general, and did they leave any money? Did they like the thing, or whatever? And then just kind of like when they get back to the Bastion, the people that are running the show, their hirelings, say, "Oh yeah, we had somebody come by, and here's some money."
I almost feel like I would want to set this up the way I was going to run that Deathwatch campaign. Would be the RPG is like playing doing the adventuring stuff is what we do at the table, and then like outside of the game, it could be like, hey, here's what's going on in Bastions. You can do it like once a week. Just keep up on it, like in a Discord forum.
Mm-hmm.
If you only game once every 2 weeks, like we were doing, I don't think you and Crave would have wanted to sit down and do Bastion stuff.
No. And if you were going to do stuff in the field, you need to have the logistics of it. You got to get word to the players that you're doing that, and so you got to have like ravens or owls or something that are going to be, or sending stones, something in order to get word back.
Ultimately, I feel like it's a cool concept, but again, it seems more homeworky and tedious than beneficial.
Sure.
Because it's a 20-page PDF.
Exactly.
That's a lot of rules and a lot of mechanics to try and get, especially like casual players, to want to engage with.
Yeah, it's going to be a little tricky for accessibility, and it's interesting because One D&D that they're setting up for is supposed to be more in the vein of accessibility for newcomers. And,
sure.
And I think that this is a lot to take in. But again, it is also completely optional. You don't have to use these in the same way that I don't have to use a lot of the mechanics that D&D has.
Like, this would be fine if it were translated into a video game.
Yes.
Because it would keep track of all that stuff on the other side and be like, here's a quick thing. But having all these mechanics and features and stuff that a player would either need to keep track of, or just like you'd have to go back and reference it every time you wanted to do something.
Mm-hmm.
It can be a lot.
Wait until they have a Bastion update for Baldur's Gate 3.
I would love that.
Yeah, let's do that.
Give me a ship.
We'll get a theater in there for Asterion. He'll love it.
So if anyone's still listening, and you've checked out this One D&D PDF about Bastions, let us know your thoughts. I think it's going to be a bit tedious and cumbersome. Ultimately, it's a cool idea that won't be executed as well as it could be because of 20 pages of rules.
My opinion on it is that this amount of detail makes sense for like maybe a DM's guide, but I would need something very pared down to like just a page or two for something on the player's end of it, so that they understood it in more basic details. I imagine that since this is just like play material, they're going to be paring this down before the end.
Maybe?
It might get a lot longer, too. It's very possible. I think it makes sense if you're the person running the game that you'd want all of this detail, but we would need to see a very pared down one, I think, for the player manual would be helpful.
Yeah.
They don't really need to know all the details. All right, so Alex, I think that we've built ourselves a base of operations. It's
99 episodes in, I really hope so.
Yeah, I certainly hope so. Well, you know what? We got to make a nice place, a nice war room, so that we're ready for episode 100, right?
There you go.
Perfect. All right. Alex, if they'd like to find information on more stuff that we've done, the other 98 episodes of the show, where could they go?
You can go to totalpebbleknockdown.com, and that's where all of our stuff is hosted. Whatever.
Home? It's
Somewhere.
hosted. It's a home for hosting.
It's our bastion.
It's our bastion, yes. Our bastion is totalpebbleknockdown.com. You can also check out our inner sanctum, that is Patreon, and check out all of the additional content that we have over there and early releases of our content as well. You can check us out on our theater, which is called Every Podcast App. You can rate and review and subscribe there to tell us how good our performance was. And while you are out there, you can also check us out on our post, our hitching post. In this metaphor, the social media, the social media links would be what? What would they be? The newsstand of this,
the bulletin board.
It's the bulletin board. You can check out our bulletin board. I am at Citanium.
And I am at EXP Limited, and our show is at Pebble Knockdown.
Check us out on the bulletin board here. This is a tortured metaphor, and I gotta stop.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you so much for joining us at our stronghold, and we will see you on the next one, which is literally the big 100. We're turning 100.
100.
100. Don't know what
we're gonna be.
We're gonna be 100 years old. If you combine all of our ages together, maybe
close to it. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh God. Oh no. Thank you for joining us, folks. We'll see you next time. Goodbye.
Bye.